Hello there! In this video I will be doing another recorded live coding session, but this time I will be building a very simple digital experience platform. So digital experience platform is a website that is getting data from several different third-party services. So for example, from a CMS like a content management system or search engine or image provider like digital asset management. So in this video, I will be building a digital experience platform with Nux.3. As a CMS, I will be using Storyblok, headless CMS. For the search, I will be using Algolia. And I will be using also very simple image processing with NuxtImage. For styling, I will go with TailwindCSS. And finally, we will deploy our app to Vercel. Let's go. Okay, welcome to this live session. So we will be building an app that is actually inspired by the article I wrote for Storyblok. So the app will look more or less like this. So we will have the gallery of cats that will be fetched directly from Storyblok CMS, and we will also have the cats that will be fetched from Algolia. So we will have both sources, so we'll have content from CMS and from the search engine, but also what we will do here is we will use the indexer from the Algolia module so that we will be able to populate the index in Algolia with the data from Storyblok. So for example, whenever we update the content in Storyblok, it will also be updated in Algolia so that we will have the same data in both places. I have already generated a very simple Nux.3 project. It doesn't have any modules, it doesn't have any other dependencies, it's just the simple application. What next? I will be using a headless CMS, as I mentioned, the Storyblok, and I have already created the home page as well as some components, specifically CatImage component. And this component will have three fields: title, ID, and src. Both title and ID will be just simple text type, while src will be an asset because we will be storing images of our cats in Storyblok. So when we go to content and home here, then ignore this for now, we will add the live preview of our app in a minute. But let's take a look at the content here because we already have three cats here. Each of them will have the ID, the title, and the src, which will be the image from our asset management in Storyblok. So each of these cats will have a different text and the image as well. In terms of Algolia, the index I prepared for this tutorial is empty for now, but as I mentioned, we will be using the indexer from Algolia module that you will be able to populate this indexer with the data from this space in Storyblok. We'll be using Nuxt.Tailwind module for adding some styling to our app, as well as NuxtImage to get the optimized images. We'll be using the official Storyblok module for Nuxt by the Storyblok team. For Algolia, we'll be using the Nuxt Algolia module, which I'm really proud of because I created this module for Nuxt from scratch. So most of these functionalities were actually written by me. And finally, we will publish the app to Vercel so that it will be live. I'll be going through these documents so that I won't forget any steps, but we will do each of them in the code as well. And there is also a GitHub repository available, but I will also publish a new repository out of this video, the code that we will write together in this live coding session. Okay, so what we will do first. First, let's add Tailwind because we will be using it in all places in our app. So let's add it right now. And we will also add, as this is --dev dependency, we will also add the image as well. Here, NuxtImage. Let's add it like this. And wait a few seconds for them to install. And in the meantime, we can also install Storyblok Nuxt. Not just yet. Okay. And install, but normally this time, Storyblok Nuxt and the Algolia module at nuxt.js/Algolia. Let's wait a few seconds to load them. Okay, there is some error. Because I suppose it's at Storyblok, not just Storyblok. Okay, let's add Tailwind to our modules array. And it will be here. I will just change the spacing here to 2. So we have TailwindCSS module here. We will also add the image module here as well. So let's make it separate lines like this. We will also add the Storyblok module, Storyblok Nuxt, but we will create an array here, and as a second parameter we will pass the configuration, which will be the access token, like this. And we'll be using environment variables for connecting to both Storyblok and Algolia. So process.env.storyblok access token, like this. And to configure Nuxt Algolia, we'll be doing very similar approach. So Nuxt Algolia, and as a second parameter we will pass the configuration, which we need API key and the application ID, which we will also get from the environment variables, process.env.algolia API key. And in here, process.env.application ID. I will add Algolia here as a prefix, Algolia application ID. Okay, that's supposed to be all in terms of the Nuxt config, because we won't be passing any significant configuration to TailwindCSS, nor image edge, or we will see, maybe we will need to add some domains to the image module, but we will add them later. Okay, let's add the environment variables. So to get the access token from Storyblok, we need to go to the settings and access tokens here. I will copy it and create a new file here called .env, and I will paste the value here and just copy this one for simplicity. So it will be Storyblok access token equals the value of our token. For Algolia, I need to go to settings and API keys. And in here, I will have the application ID and the search API key. I will also need admin API key later to populate Algolia with the data from Storyblok, but for now, let's just use application ID and search only API key. So copy this here, Algolia API key, and Algolia application. I did it the other way. So this is actually application ID and this is API key. Okay, it seems that we have all the basic configuration for the application to work. Let's add the, what else do we have here? Configuration is done. We can just test it out. So let's go to app.vue and in the script setup lang equals ts. Let's use Algolia just to test it out whether it works. So we will just copy this and I will explain in a second what it does. And we will also need to get the result in the template right here. We can also get rid of Nux welcome. So in here, what it will do is it will call the use Algolia search composable that as a param accepts the name of the index that we want to fetch the data from. So in here we have test index. So it is not the same index as we have here because in here we were using the DXP index. So just to test it out, I will be using the test index that contains some dummy e-commerce data for easier testing. And later on, we will use this DXP, which is currently empty. I'm destructuring both search method and the result. And on unmounted lifecycle hook, I will be just searching this index, test index, with this query. So I will just search for results that contains or hits that contains the keyword Samsung. And I will just display the result here. So let's start the server and see if it works. Okay, so it seems to be working. Let's check it out. Localhost 3000. Okay, so we have a lot of data here. Like, as you can see, it's like, yeah, a lot. So basically this is what is the result of fetching this 400 hits with the Samsung keyword. So we have Samsung Galaxy here, Samsung Galaxy here, Luna, and so on and so on. So it fetched all these results here by the query. So we know already that this part of the app works. So the next step would be to test if our Storyblok application works. So let's go here and just, yeah, we'll do something similar here just to test it out. So we will copy this. It's not as easy to copy. And just below this one, we'll go with await use Storyblok, but this time it will be use async Storyblok. And what else? Let's just go here and in another div just show this story. What is the value of this story? Let's go to localhost and see. Okay, so we don't see much of the difference. We see a lot of data here. So let's divide them with just a simple h2 data from Storyblok. And just below that, let's go with data from Algolia. Okay, there is no big difference in terms of styling because we are using TailwindCSS. So let's just quickly add text to XL and the same here. So this data, like this data here, was fetched from the Storyblok, while this data was fetched from Algolia. So we see already that we have data from two different sources. But right now they are not integrated with each other. They are just two different sources. So we have data about phones from Algolia and data about cats from Storyblok. Right now, let's so we added Storyblok, so we are fetching already the cats. So let's create this cat image component. So to make this look a bit better. So I will just copy this component here for easier coding. So folders components, and we will create CatImage.vue. And let's go through this together. I will just take this script and put it higher, like this. So we have the script setup, and we just defined two props, src and the title. So src will be source of our image, like cat image, and the title will be just the title of the cat. For example, cat dog or chill cat or whatever else I put into Storyblok. But right now it is just a normal image. It's not NuxtImage, so we will replace it in a minute. But let's take this, and in app.vue, let's just I believe this is supposed to be CatImageGallery. Yes, so I will copy this as well and create CatImageGallery, which will be just a gallery of cats. And ignore the TypeScript complaints about the styles. I will not focus on this right now, just for the sake of simplicity of this tutorial, which is already quite advanced. So in this, we will add some styling, like very simple styling, and we will be just outputting the cat images for how many images we will get from the props. Going further, we will just use this here, and in our app right here, instead of just displaying the whole story of Storyblok, we will just go with this. So we will have cat image gallery, and as an images prop, we will send story content body. And if we go to Storyblok here, to our content, and this page here, we can go to here and choose draft JSON. We'll see the same data that we fetched in our application. So we will have the story, and we will have content and the body somewhere here. Yeah, body here. So this is the data that we will fetch, and we will map over this body to get the cats. So let's save it. We can close CatImageGallery and CatImage because we won't be using them right now. Let's see it in our browser. So we see here that we have these 3 cute cat images here displayed. And this is the content from Storyblok. But as I mentioned, right now we can't see the preview yet because we haven't configured our local server to work with HTTPS, which is a required thing in Storyblok 2. So I will do that in a minute. So we will just copy this because I have already installed mkcert. I will right after add both this and the second certificate to the git ignore so that it won't be pushed to the repo. And the next step would be to create a local proxy that will proxy our HTTP 3000 app into HTTPS. So it will proxy these requests to this request, to this server. So let's create a new terminal here and just go yarn dev. And yes, so right here, if we go HTTP localhost 3000, it works. And in here, if we change the URL here to HTTPS and 3010, save it and go to content and home, we can see the preview of our app. So we have the same content here and here. Awesome. What else we can do? Just to show you how the preview works, we can just how do I change it? I can add another one. So let's add a new cat here, and we see the preview. So we can add new cats as well. So here, this one is really nice. But we won't see this here yet because we haven't saved the file yet, the new design. So when we click save, and let's see here, we have new cats right below the 3 first cats. So we have this like possibility to get the images or cats in general, content about the cats from Storyblok. Just to make it a bit more performant, let's go check the images here. So they are JPEGs from a Storyblok. So what we could do right now is we could, as we already like installed the NuxtImage module, let's replace the image here with the NuxtImage. So NuxtImage. And what else? Okay, we have the SRC, but what we want to do here is we want to format the image from JPEG to WebP. Let's save it and see it here. When we refresh the page and inspect this one, we see that it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because we haven't configured the domains. This is what I mentioned. So if we go to the documentation of the NuxtImage and we go to configuration, and I believe here, domains, we need to add the Storyblok domain here in the image configuration. Why? Because we have to let module know that this domain is like this Storyblok domain is an acceptable domain to process the image from. So we will, we'll just go this and here, image, and we will add domains, but not Next.js.org. We will add the domain, this one here, a.storyblok.com. We don't need HTTPS. So it will be a.storyblok.com. Let's save it and let's see our images right now. So we have some of the images are broken for some reason. Let's inspect that in a minute. But as you can see right now, those images are now proxied through the local IPX instance. So when we inspect them here and we go with images, we will see that this cat dog is actually a WebP format, not JPEG. But for some reason, this cute cat doesn't work. So we can't get this image to be formatted for some reason. IPX fetch error. No, there are no logs in the console. Don't really know what can be causing this. Like the error is not quite explanatory. Okay, let's leave it for now as the normal image. Or yeah, let's go with this one because some of the images can be processed. What else? Let me go back to the article. So in here we have quite similar result. So what we will do here is we will use the indexer. Yeah. But for that, to make it work, we need to add the indexer option to the Storyblok, to Algolia module, sorry. So in here with Algolia, we have API key and application ID. And as a third configuration option, we'll add indexer and Storyblok. So this indexer will actually fetch the content from Storyblok and populate Algolia with it. So that in our app here, we won't be getting, we won't be getting the data from this dummy e-commerce index. We can just then go with the DXP, which is the index that I prepared for this video. So indexer secret. This can be anything. So let's go with indexer secret and let's go with secret, very secret one. Algolia admin key, we need to add it right below. And Algolia index name and the Storyblok access token. So Storyblok access token is already here, so we don't need to add it, but we need to add the admin key and the index key. So index name will be just DXP, and the admin key in Algolia will be API keys and just this. So it seems that we have all of the stuff here. Let's save this all and see. Let's also clear the query and just see what results we will get here. So we see no results, and this is correct because by no I mean that there is like hits, which is the results from Algolia, is empty. And it is empty because if we go to this index here and we go to DXP, it's actually empty. But right now with the indexer enabled, because we have added this here, we can also populate the Algolia index with the data from Storyblok. So let's do this right now, and it will work in a way that it's explained here in this section. So if we access this API indexer, we will be able to populate our app or the Algolia index with the content from Storyblok. So if we go like this, it won't work because we need to send a secret, the secret that we provided here. So we will create a secret equals secret. And we see the result, Algolia indexed with the data from Storyblok. So this server middleware, what it did under the hood is it updated our index in Algolia. So let's check it right now. As you can see here, we have 3 or even 5 results of the cats. So all this data was fetched from Storyblok CMS and it was added to our Algolia index. So you can already think of this as the solution for your next app. So for example, an app that will be powered by CMS and you want to have very fast search results by Algolia. So you can have both of them connected by this approach. If we go right now to our app and just go to 3000 once again, in here we will see the data about our cats. But they don't look great, this is just a raw data. So what we will do right now is we will just display the same array of cats, but with the data from Algolia. Where is it? It will be... Oh, it seems that I forgot to add it to this article. So what we'll do here is we will go to app.vue, copy this cat image gallery, and here copy it, paste it instead of this div. But as the images, we will pass the result, and it will be hits. Let's see it in the browser. We have the images from Storyblok. Actually, I will revert this next image because it seems to not work correctly. So I will delete this and go with image like this. So we have the cats. So as you can see, we have the cats from Storyblok, and we have as well the cats from Algolia. It also means, because right now what we have done is that for Algolia, we have just fetched all cats. However, and you can see the reason here, because as a query, we are passing just a simple empty string. But what if we want to filter it? For example, go with chill, because this cat is actually named chill cat. So when we type a query chill, we will just see the chill cat here. What else? I think that will be it. The app is not very advanced. As I mentioned, it's just a gallery of cat images. But actually what is important is that we are getting the data from one source. We are populating another source with the data from the first one. And we are also fetching the data from here, which is up to date with the data from here. And right now, it's not the best approach, because each time we update the content here in Storyblok, we would have to go to here and API indexer, which is not the best approach, because we don't want to do it manually. So what we could do instead, but I won't be going through it right now, just for you in the future, is you can go here to Storyblok and configure webhooks. So when the story will be published or unpublished, or data source will be saved, you can configure the webhook. So a request that will be sent to a certain page and a certain endpoint. So in here, with our deployed app, we could just say vv my app /API /indexer, and in here we'll also need to pass a secret like this. So it will mean that after adding a new data source or publishing a new story, we will also trigger this indexing functionality from Algolia module. I think right now the last step to do is just to deploy this app to Vercel, just to see how it works. And we will need to add the environment variables there in order to make it work. So let's just, also in the console here, we see the message from the Algolia module that the index was stored with 5 new entries, so 5 cats from Storyblok. Yeah, the final step here will be just to push this code to the repository, deploy it to Vercel, and add these environment variables here so that we can use the app. So let's close it. Let's git add, git commit, working app. Let's push it to the repo. And let's go to Vercel and go to import git repository, and I will go with the one Nuxt Storyblok Algolia TailwindCSS. This is the one that I created for this video. So we will import it. The process is very similar. We have very simple. The preset will be Nuxt, the root directory, and the environment variables. Here we will add these environment variables from our .env file. So I am just copying them here. Add Algolia API key here, and the value. Add application ID, and this one, And we will also add the secret as well as its value, and also the admin key and the index name as well, just for the future. Add. So let's deploy and see if it works. In the meantime, I will go to the article and just see if I haven't forgot anything, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think everything is included. We have the array of cats from Storyblok and the cats from Algolia as well. So let's wait a few seconds more. Okay, so it seems that our project is working, but for some reason it shows 500. Cannot read properties of null reading hints. Let's inspect that. Network. Fetch all. Yeah, let's see all. So we have 500. Properties of null reading hits. So what it means is that this result does not contain the hits for some reason. What could be the issue here? Let's close this for now. Maybe let's add a question mark here. Maybe this will help. Oh, okay. So the issue, I think, was this question mark, that it's needed here because at certain point the result is empty. So we have our cats, and as you can see, we also don't have the image here. It's probably because of the same issue with the 403. Yes, for some reason Storyblok doesn't allow us to get this image. Not sure why, but it can happen. What is important is that we have deployed the app to Vercel that is fetching the data from Storyblok, the cats here, and it's also getting the data from Algolia here that was populated by the indexer. We also try to make it work with NuxtImage. So right now what we could do, as this third image doesn't work anyway, we can just go to components and in here go with NuxtImage, close this one and go with this format of WebP and just push it. And NuxtImage format, push it, and let's see the result after pushing this. So we'll go to this project and we'll wait for this commit to be built. Okay, so this deployment seems to be okay. Let's check the app itself. So we have the images, so it looks very similar to the previous approach, But if we go here to image source, we will see that these images are actually proxied by the Vercel not personalization, but image optimization service. So we will have in the network tab, and we will go to images, and in here we will see that the images of the cats from Storyblok are actually WebP format, not the JPEG format that was like the initial value here. As I mentioned, the third cat doesn't work for some reason. But this will be it. That will be it for this video. I hope that you will like this approach, because I really enjoy working with Nuxt, Storyblok, Algolia, and other tools here mentioned here as well. Let me know in the comments what next videos you would, or next projects you would like me to build or videos to record. And yeah, see you next time.